Italy hosted the annual summit of leaders from the G7 major democracies last week, from June 13th to 15th, 2024. The G7 comprises of the United States, Germany, Japan, Canada, France, Italy, and Britain. The European Union participates in all of the discussions and is being represented by the presidents of both the European Council and the European Commission. The host country traditionally invites outside guests to join in some of the conversation. This year, Italy has thrown the doors open and welcomed Pope Francis, the King of Jordan, as well as the leaders of Ukraine, India, Brazil, Argentina, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, Kenya, Algeria, Tunisia and Mauritania, which hold the presidency of the African Union. In addition, the Secretary General of the United Nations and the heads of the World Bank, the IMF, the African Development Bank, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development were present. Now, these were some of the focal points at the summit. Supporting Ukraine's fight for freedom. Joined by Ukrainian President Zelensky, G7 leaders reaffirmed their unwavering support for Ukraine for as long as it takes, sending a signal to Putin that he will not outlast their resolve. G7 leaders announced a plan to provide Ukraine with $50 billion in financing by bringing forward the interest earned on immobilized Russian assets held in the European Union and other jurisdictions. This new financing will provide the support for Ukrainian military, budget and reconstruction needs. The US will work with Ukraine and G7 partners in the coming months to finalize the details of the financing arrangement and to issue the loan at the end of the month, advancing international peace, security and prosperity. The G7 was united in supporting the comprehensive list proposed by President Biden that would lead to an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the release of all hostages, a significant and sustained increase in the flow of humanitarian assistance throughout Gaza, and an enduring end to the crisis, with Israel's security interest and the safety of Palestinians in Gaza. The G7 is working with African partners to contribute to global stability and prosperity, promoting economic resilience and security. The G7 will work with partners in developing countries and emerging markets to increase their participation in global supply chains while promoting high standards, partnering with developing nations to invest in their future, recognizing that mounting debt burdens hinder the ability of developing nations to make critical decisions. President Biden, alongside Kenyan President Ruto, championed and garnered the G7 support for the Washington-Nairobi vision that calls on the international community to step up support for developing African communities to make critical reforms and developments. The G7 committed to work with the IMF, World Bank, and other stakeholders to bring this plan forward, accelerating the clean energy transition to address climate change. For the first time, the G7 has committed to phase out unabated coal power generations in energy systems during the first half of the 2030s. The G7 has also set out to deploy a 1,500 gigawatts of long-duration storage by 2030, building on top of the COP28 pledge to triple the globally installed renewable energy by 2030, deepening cooperation on artificial intelligence. G7 leaders affirm the importance of international partnership to bridge the digital divide and ensure that people everywhere have access to AI and other technologies in order to make scientific advancements, promote sustainable development, improve public health, accelerate the clean energy transition, and more. G7 Labour ministers will devise an action plan to leverage AI's ability or potential to increase quality job and empower workers while addressing its potential challenges. Enhancing our partnership on migration, drawn from the principles of the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection that President Biden launched at the Summit of the Americas in 2022. The G7 affirmed a commitment to address migration in ways that both reflects the opportunities and challenges it presents. Leaders agreed on a three-way approach that focused on addressing the root cause of irregular migration, strengthening safe and regular migration pathways, and enhancing border management and enforcement. Other key points discussed were investing in childcare to support women's economic participation and promoting health and food security. The 2024 G7 summit in Italy shows the power of unity in addressing global problems, and this can help create a more inclusive and sustainable world.